The notification sound cut through the silence of my half-packed suitcase like a knife. I was 3 beers deep, folding shirts for a business trip that had just been canceled, when my phone lit up with a message from my wife. "I'm leaving you. Good luck surviving." Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. I stared at the screen, waiting for the punchline. Lena always had a twisted sense of humor, but this felt different. The cold finality of those 7 words made my stomach drop. I scrolled up through our recent messages, nothing but logistics about dinner plans and grocery lists. No fights, no arguments, just this. "My name is Simon Hartley, and I'm 44 years old. I run a modest financial consulting business out of a strip mall in upstate New York, in one of those faded mill towns that Stephen King would recognize. The kind of place where everyone knows everyone else's business, and secrets have a shelf life of about 24 hours. I grabbed another beer and called our joint checking account's automated line. The mechanical voice delivered the news with cheerful efficiency. "Your current balance is $0.00." "What the hell?" I muttered, dialing Lena's cell. Straight to voicemail. That's when I noticed her Instagram story, posted just an hour ago. There was Lena, raising a champagne glass with her real estate office friends at some upscale restaurant downtown. The caption read, "New beginnings? Sometimes you have to bet everything to win big. Freedom feels. New chapter." My hands started shaking, not from fear, from rage, pure, white-hot rage. I stumbled to our home office and fired up the shared computer. Lena wasn't exactly tech-savvy, and she'd never bothered to log out of her email accounts. What I found there made my blood run cold. Dozens of messages between her and someone named Brent Calloway. The timestamps went back 4 months. The content started professional, mortgage discussions, client referrals, but quickly turned personal, then intimate, then explicit. "Simon's working late again," she'd written 2 weeks ago. Sometimes I wonder if he'd even notice if I disappeared completely. "Maybe it's time to find out," Brent had replied. "You deserve so much better than that boring life." I scrolled through months of betrayal, each message a fresh knife twist. They'd been planning this for weeks, the joint account drainage, the timing with my canceled trip. Even the cruel text message had been Brent's idea. But here's the thing about being a financial advisor in a small town. You learn to read between the lines. You develop an eye for details that other people miss. And as I dug deeper into Lena's digital trail, I started to see something that made me smile for the first time all night. My dear wife had made a critical error. She'd emptied our joint checking account, sure, but that account was tied to a business line of credit, in her name only, thanks to some paperwork she'd insisted on handling herself 6 months ago. The bank would be calling her about the $100,000 debt by morning. I leaned back in my chair and laughed, actually laughed out loud. "Good luck surviving indeed," I said to the empty room. That's when I noticed the lipstick stain on one of my coffee mugs in the sink, a shade Lena never wore, and the receipts scattered on her nightstand, dinners at restaurants we'd never been to, hotel charges from nights when she'd claimed to be showing properties. In the laundry basket, wrapped in one of my old t-shirts, I found a second phone, a cheap burner with a cracked screen. The message history was a goldmine of coordination between Lena and Brent, including detailed plans for today's escape. "He'll be so pathetic," Lena had texted. "Probably won't even fight back. Simon never fights for anything." I set the phone down carefully and cracked open another beer. She was wrong about that. I pulled up Lena's emergency credit card account, the one she'd forgotten about, the one that was still active and tied to my business address. With a few clicks, I ordered a $3,000 custom chess set and had it delivered to Brent Calloway's address with a note. "Congratulations on your new game. Hope you're better at chess than you are at keeping secrets. Your move." As I hit submit, I felt something shift inside me. The hurt and shock were crystallizing into something harder, something dangerous. Simon Hartley, the overlooked husband, was done playing defense. It was time to teach my wife and her lover what happens when you underestimate the quiet guy in the corner. The next morning, I woke up with a hangover and a plan. The first part involved coffee and aspirin. The second part involved revenge. I called in sick to work, first time in 3 years, and drove to the Anchor, a dive bar downtown that opened at 11 a.m. for the serious drinkers and the recently unemployed, the kind of place where you could get information if you knew who to ask. Eddie Morse was already there, nursing a whiskey and reading yesterday's paper. Eddie used to be a private investigator before his drinking got the better of him. Now he was just a guy with useful skills and flexible morals. Simon? Eddie looked up, surprised. Little early for you, isn't it? My wife left me yesterday, I said, sliding onto the adjacent bar stool. Cleaned out our bank account and ran off with some mortgage broker named Brent Calloway. Eddie's bloodshot eyes sharpened. Calloway? Tall guy. Drives a blue BMW. Thinks he's God's gift to women? You know him? Know of him. Guy's got a reputation. Married, but separated. Likes to flash money around, but word is he's leveraged up to his eyeballs. Gambling problem from what I hear. Eddie signaled the bartender for another round. What do you want to know? Everything, I said, and I'm buying. 2 hours and several drinks later, I had a complete dossier on Brent Calloway. Pending lawsuits from angry clients, a bitter estranged wife who was taking him to the cleaners in divorce court, debts to some very unfriendly people who didn't accept payment plans. Your wife picked a real winner, Eddie said, sliding me a napkin with Brent's address, workplace, and regular hangouts written in careful block letters. Guy's 1 bad month away from bankruptcy. What about surveillance? I asked. Hypothetically. Eddie grinned. Hypothetically, I'd say modern technology makes it easier than ever to keep tabs on people. GPS trackers, social media monitoring, that kind of thing. All perfectly legal if you're creative about it. I paid Eddie's tab and drove home, my mind racing with possibilities. Lena still hadn't called or texted. Her social media showed her at Brent's townhouse, posing with mimosas and talking about new adventures. My phone buzzed with a call from my assistant, Kyle. Simon, are you okay? Mrs. Patterson called about her portfolio review, and I didn't know what to tell her. Kyle was 26, fresh out of college, and worshipped the ground I walked on. Kid had been working for me for 2 years and never once questioned my methods. Family emergency, I said. Can you handle things for a few days? Of course. Is there anything I can do to help? I paused, considering. Kyle was smart, loyal, and had a vindictive streak that he tried to hide behind his professional demeanor. Actually, there might be. What do you know about social media monitoring? Everything, Kyle said immediately. I mean, I grew up with this stuff. Why? I'll explain later. Right now, I need you to do some research on a guy named Brent Calloway. Mortgage broker, works downtown. I want to know everything about his business, his clients, his online presence. Can you do that without it tracing back to us? Absolutely. Give me 2 hours. While Kyle worked his magic, I focused on Lena. I still had access to our shared iCloud account, which meant I could track her location in real time. She was at Brent's place, probably celebrating their brilliant escape plan. What they didn't know was that I'd hidden a GPS tracker in Lena's purse 6 months ago, after she'd started working late, so frequently. It was supposed to be for her safety. Our neighborhood had had some break-ins. Now it was going to be the foundation of their downfall. My neighbor, Mrs. Lawton, knocked on my door around 3 p.m. She was 78, widowed, and had made nosiness into an art form. Simon, dear, I saw Lena leaving yesterday with suitcases. Is everything all right? She's visiting her sister, I lied smoothly. Family emergency. Mrs. Lawton's eyes narrowed. She'd been watching our house for 15 years and had never missed a detail. That's strange. I could have sworn I saw her getting into a blue car with a man, not her usual vehicle. Her sister's boyfriend, I said. Thanks for keeping an eye on things, Mrs. Lawton. I really appreciate it. After she left, I called Kyle back. You're not going to believe this, he said immediately. Brent Calloway is in serious trouble. 3 client complaints filed with the state licensing board in the past 6 months. His business partner filed a lawsuit last month claiming Brent was skimming commissions. And get this, his mortgage company is under investigation for predatory lending practices. What about his personal life? Messy divorce, like you said. But here's the interesting part. His soon-to-be ex-wife, Patricia, has been posting some pretty angry stuff on Facebook. She's claiming he hid assets and cheated her out of their house. She's also been commenting on his business page, warning people not to trust him. I felt a smile spreading across my face. Kyle, you're brilliant. Send me everything you found. Already in your email. Simon, what exactly are you planning? Justice, I said. Pure and simple justice. That evening, I put the first phase of my plan into action. I created a fake Google account and left a carefully worded review on Brent's business page. If you want your financial life destroyed as quickly as your personal relationships, Brent Calloway is your man. His attention to detail is about as reliable as his marriage vows. 1 star, and that's being generous. Then I sent an anonymous tip to the local real estate licensing board about Lena's recent, questionable business practices. Specifically, her failure to disclose foundation problems on a property she'd listed last month. It was a minor violation, but it would trigger an investigation that would tie up her license for weeks. By 10 p.m., I was sitting in my car across from Brent's townhouse, watching my wife laugh and drink wine with her new boyfriend through their uncurtained windows. They looked so happy, so confident in their clever plan. They had no idea that their world was about to come crashing down around them. My phone buzzed with a text from Mrs. Lawton. Simon, dear, I saw that blue car again, parked in the Hendersons' driveway. They're in Florida until next month. Should I call the police? I stared at the message, then at Brent's townhouse. The BMW wasn't in his driveway. Don't call the police yet, I texted back. I'll handle it. I drove to the Hendersons' house, and sure enough, there was Brent's BMW in the driveway. The house was dark, but I could see movement inside. They were using my neighbor's empty house for their affair, probably thinking they were being clever about hiding their relationship. I grabbed the camera from my glove compartment and settled in to wait. Sometimes the best revenge is simply giving people enough rope to hang themselves. At 11:47 p.m., I got the shots that would change everything. Through the Hendersons' bedroom window, I captured Lena and Brent in a compromising position that left no doubt about the nature of their relationship. The camera's night vision mode worked perfectly, and I made sure to get clear shots of both their faces. But I didn't stop there. I waited until they were getting dressed, then took photos of them rifling through the Hendersons' belongings. Lena was actually trying on Mrs. Henderson's jewelry, while Brent went through Mr. Henderson's desk drawers. They weren't just cheaters. They were thieves. I drove home with a sense of satisfaction I hadn't felt in years. These photos were nuclear weapons, and I was about to start a war. The next morning, I accidentally sent the photos to Monica Vance, Lena's best friend and biggest gossip in the real estate office. I crafted a text message that looked like it was meant for someone else. Eddie, got those surveillance photos you wanted. Turns out your suspicions about the Henderson break-ins were right. Check out who's been using their house as a love nest. I sent it to Monica instead, then immediately followed up with, Sorry, wrong number. Please delete that message. Of course, Monica did exactly what I knew she would do. Within an hour, those photos were circulating through every real estate office in town. My phone rang at 10 a.m. It was Lena, and she was screaming. You sick bastard! How could you do this to me? Do what? I asked innocently. I'm just sitting here having my morning coffee, wondering how my bank account got emptied. You know what you did. Those photos... What photos? Lena, you're not making any sense. Don't play dumb with me, Simon. I know you took those pictures. I have no idea what you're talking about, but if someone took pictures of you doing something you shouldn't have been doing, maybe the problem isn't the photographer. She hung up on me. 20 minutes later, she was pounding on our front door. I opened it to find her standing there with mascara running down her face and her hair a mess. "Let me in," she demanded. "We need to talk." "Actually, we don't," I said calmly. "You made your position pretty clear in that text message. Good luck surviving, remember?" "Simon, please. I made a mistake." "A mistake? You've been planning this for months. You cleaned out our bank account. You've been screwing another man in our neighbor's house. Which part of that was a mistake?" Lena's face crumpled. I was confused. Brent made you think what? That stealing from your husband and breaking into other people's houses was a good idea? We weren't stealing. We were just what? Borrowing Mrs. Henderson's diamond earrings? Going through Mr. Henderson's personal papers? What exactly were you doing in there, Lena? She stared at me, realizing she'd just admitted to the break-in. You don't understand. Brent said it would be romantic using an empty house. He said it was harmless. And you believed him? Jesus, Lena, I thought you were smarter than that. I want to come home, she said quietly. I want to work this out. I laughed, actually laughed in her face. Home? You mean the home you abandoned? The home you cleaned out before running away with your boyfriend? That home? I'll pay the money back. With what money? Your boyfriend's? Because according to my sources, he's about to lose everything he has. Lena's eyes widened. What are you talking about? Ask him about the lawsuits. Ask him about the investigation into his business practices. Ask him about the gambling debts. You really picked a winner, honey. I started to close the door, but Lena grabbed my arm. Simon, wait. I'm sorry, I'm really, truly sorry. Can't we? No, I said, pulling free. We can't. You made your choice. Now live with it. I closed the door and locked it, leaving her standing on the porch. Through the window, I watched her pull out her phone and make a frantic call, probably to Brent, probably panicking about what I'd just told her. My phone buzzed with a text from Kyle. Simon, you need to see this. Someone posted those photos on the local Facebook gossip group. It's going viral. I checked Facebook, and sure enough, the photos were everywhere. The comments were brutal. Isn't that Lena Hartley from Premier Realty, using the Henderson house while they're away? That's disgusting. I knew there was something off about her. Always acted like she was better than everyone else. Her poor husband. He seems like such a nice guy. Someone should call the police about the break-in. My phone rang. It was Eddie. Simon, you magnificent bastard, he said. I don't know how you did it, but Brent Calloway is finished. His business partner just fired him, and his ex-wife is using those photos in their divorce proceedings. She's claiming they prove he was hiding assets and using marital property for his affairs. What about Lena? Her boss called an emergency meeting for this afternoon. Word is they're considering suspension pending an ethics investigation. Breaking into clients' homes doesn't look good for a real estate agent. I hung up and poured myself a celebratory drink. It was only noon, but some occasions called for whiskey. That's when I noticed Brent's BMW pulling into my driveway. He got out of the car like a man walking to his execution. His usually perfect hair was disheveled, his expensive suit wrinkled. He looked like he'd aged 10 years overnight. I opened the door before he could knock. Mr. Hartley, he said, trying to sound professional. I think we need to talk. Do we? About what? About this misunderstanding between us, about Lena, about those photos. What photos? I asked, echoing my conversation with Lena. Brent's jaw tightened. You know damn well what photos, the ones that are destroying both our lives. Both your lives? Brent, I hate to break it to you, but my life is going great. I'm not the one who got fired today. I'm not the one whose ex-wife is using surveillance photos in divorce court. I'm not the one who's about to be charged with breaking and entering. His face went white. Charged? What are you talking about? The Hendersons are flying back from Florida tomorrow. Apparently someone saw their house being used by trespassers and called them. They're pretty upset about strangers going through their personal belongings. They want to press charges. It was a lie, but Brent didn't know that. Look, he said desperately, maybe we can work something out, man to man. What kind of arrangement did you have in mind? I'll end things with Lena. I'll disappear. You'll never see me again. Just make this stop. I pretended to consider it. What about the money she stole from me? I'll pay it back, every penny. With what money? You just got fired. Brent's shoulders sagged. I'll figure something out. Here's a better idea, I said. You and Lena can figure it out together. You wanted her, you got her. Congratulations. Now deal with the consequences. I closed the door in his face and watched through the window as he sat in his car for 10 minutes, probably trying to figure out how his perfect plan had gone so wrong. My phone buzzed with another text from Mrs. Lawton. Simon, dear, there's a man in a blue car sitting in your driveway. Should I be concerned? No need to worry, I texted back. Just someone who's lost his way. As Brent finally drove away, I realized I was just getting started. The real fun was about to begin. 3 days later, I was at the Anchor when Monica Vance walked in. She looked around nervously before spotting me at my usual corner table. Simon? She said, approaching cautiously. Can we talk? Sure, Monica. Have a seat. Can I buy you a drink? She sat down, but shook her head at the drink offer. I need to tell you something. About Lena. What about her? Monica fidgeted with her purse strap. She's been calling me nonstop. She thinks you're following her, watching her. She's paranoid, Simon. Really paranoid. Why would I follow her? I know exactly where she is at all times. Monica's eyes widened. What do you mean? I pulled out my phone and showed her the Find My iPhone app. Lena's location showed up as a red dot at Brent's townhouse. We share an iCloud account. She never bothered to change the password. That's kind of creepy, Simon. What's creepy is cleaning out your husband's bank account and running away with another man. What's creepy is breaking into your neighbor's house to have sex. I'm just using the tools available to me. Monica looked uncomfortable. Look, I know what she did was wrong, but maybe you should ease up a little. She's really struggling. Struggling how? She lost her job yesterday, official termination. And Brent's not handling the pressure well. He's been drinking heavily, and he's talking about leaving town. I leaned back in my chair. Leaving town? That's interesting. What about Lena? I don't think he's planning to take her with him. So let me get this straight. Lena destroyed our marriage for a guy who's about to abandon her. A guy who's broke, unemployed, and possibly facing criminal charges? Monica nodded miserably. She made a terrible mistake, Simon, but she's still your wife. No, I said firmly. She was my wife. Now she's just someone I used to know. That's when Lena herself walked into the bar. She looked awful. Her hair was unwashed, her clothes wrinkled, and she had dark circles under her eyes. She spotted us immediately and marched over to our table. I should have known, she said bitterly. Monica, are you working for him now? Lena, please, Monica said. I was just trying to help. Help who, him or me? Both of you. This has gone too far. Lena turned to me with pure hatred in her eyes. You destroyed my life. I destroyed your life? That's rich. All I did was exist while you made a series of spectacularly bad decisions. You took those photos. You sent them to everyone we know. You got me fired. I didn't get you fired, Lena. You got yourself fired when you decided to use your clients' empty houses as your personal love nest. That's an ethics violation that would have come to light eventually. You're a vindictive bastard. And you're a cheating thief. I guess we're even. Lena's face flushed red. I want half of everything. The house, your business, your retirement accounts. I'm entitled to half. I laughed so hard I nearly choked on my drink. Entitled? You think you're entitled to anything after what you did? I'm your wife. We have community property laws. We also have adultery laws and theft laws. You really want to go to court and explain to a judge how you cleaned out our joint account and ran away with another man? How you broke into our neighbor's house? How you committed multiple ethics violations that cost you your professional license? Lena's confidence wavered. That's not... You can't prove... I pulled out my phone and showed her the photos. Actually, I can prove all of it. High-definition proof. Monica gasped. Simon, you still have those? I have copies of everything. Photos, text messages, bank records, witness statements. I've been documenting every move you've made for months, Lena. I know about the fake business trips, the hidden credit cards, the secret phone. I know about Brent's gambling debts and his pending lawsuits. I know about the investigation into his business practices. Lena stared at me like she was seeing me for the first time. You've been spying on me? I've been protecting myself. And it's a good thing I did because you and your boyfriend were planning to frame me for harassment. What are you talking about? I showed her the screenshots Kyle had captured from Brent's social media messages. Carl Martinez, Brent's friend. He tried to plant fake threatening messages on my work computer last week. Unfortunately for him, I have security cameras in my office. Monica looked back and forth between us. This is insane. You're both insane. I'm not the one who threw away a 20-year marriage for a broke mortgage broker with a gambling problem, I said calmly. Lena's hands were shaking. Brent said, he said you were weak. He said you'd never fight back. Brent was wrong about a lot of things, like thinking he could steal another man's wife and face no consequences, like thinking he could frame me for crimes I didn't commit, like thinking he was smart enough to outsmart someone who makes a living analyzing financial fraud. What do you want from me? Lena whispered. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. You made your choice. Now live with it. I stood up to leave, but Lena grabbed my wrist. Simon, please. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Can't we start over? I looked down at her hand on my wrist, then back at her face. Lena, if you don't let go of me right now, I'm going to call the police and have you arrested for assault. She released me immediately. For the record, I said, Brent is leaving town tomorrow. He's going to California, something about a fresh start. He didn't mention taking you with him. Lena's face crumpled. That's not true. Call him and ask. I walked away, leaving Lena sobbing at the table with Monica trying to comfort her. Outside, I sat in my car and called Kyle. How did it go? He asked. Better than expected. Is everything ready for tomorrow? All set. The Town Square Festival starts at noon. Local news will be there plus half the town. If you're really going to do this, it'll be the perfect stage. I'm really going to do it. It's time to end this once and for all. That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because of nerves, but because of anticipation. Tomorrow, everyone would see Lena and Brent for who they really were. Tomorrow, the quiet guy in the corner would have his moment. Tomorrow, I would win. The annual Founders' Day Festival was the biggest event of the year in our little town. Food trucks, live music, craft booths, and a crowd of nearly 3,000 people gathered in the town square. Local news crews always covered it, and this year was no different. I arrived at noon wearing my best suit and carrying a briefcase full of evidence. Kyle was already there, positioned near the main stage with his laptop and a portable speaker system he'd borrowed from his college days. Everything's ready, he said quietly. Are you sure about this? I've never been more sure of anything in my life. Lena and Brent showed up around 12:30, looking like they were attending their own funeral. Brent kept checking his watch and scanning the crowd nervously. Lena clung to his arm like a drowning woman holding onto driftwood. They didn't know it yet, but I'd sent them both anonymous messages that morning, claiming to be a reporter who wanted to interview them about the harassment campaign they'd been victims of. I'd suggested they come to the festival to meet me near the bandstand. At 1 p.m., the mayor finished his opening remarks, and turned the microphone over to the festival coordinator. That's when I made my move. I walked up to the stage and whispered something to the coordinator, showing him my business card and pointing to the crowd. He nodded and handed me the microphone. "Ladies and gentlemen," I said, my voice carrying across the square through the sound system. "My name is Simon Hartley, and I have something important to share with all of you." The crowd quieted down, curious about this unscheduled speaker. 3 weeks ago, my wife Lena left me for another man. She cleaned out our bank account and disappeared, leaving me a text message that said, "Good luck surviving." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. I could see Lena's face go white as she realized what was happening. Now, I'm not here to air my dirty laundry in public. Marriage problems happen to everyone. But what happened next crossed the line from personal betrayal to criminal behavior. I nodded to Kyle, who connected his laptop to the sound system. My wife and her boyfriend, Brent Calloway, began using our neighbors' empty houses for their affairs. They broke into the Henderson residence while the family was in Florida and made themselves at home. The first photo appeared on Kyle's laptop screen, projected onto a large banner behind the stage. It showed Lena and Brent clearly entering the Henderson house. The crowd gasped. "But it gets worse," I continued. "They didn't just use the house for sex. They went through personal belongings, tried on jewelry, searched through private papers. More photos flashed on the screen, each one more damaging than the last. When I discovered this criminal behavior, they tried to frame me for harassment. They planted fake evidence on my work computer and attempted to convince people that I was stalking them." I could see Brent pushing through the crowd, trying to reach the stage, but Eddie Morse and 2 of his drinking buddies blocked his path. "But here's the part that really gets me," I said, my voice rising with emotion. "After destroying our marriage, stealing my money, and breaking into our neighbors' homes, my wife had the audacity to demand half of everything I own. She claimed she was entitled to it." The crowd was getting restless now, angry murmurs building to a crescendo. "So I did some research on Mr. Calloway here. Turns out he's facing multiple lawsuits for fraud. His business is under investigation for predatory lending practices. He owes money to some very dangerous people. And yesterday, he bought a one-way ticket to Los Angeles." Lena spun around to stare at Brent, who was still trying to push toward the stage. "That's right, Lena," I said, looking directly at her. "Your boyfriend is leaving town tomorrow morning, alone. He never planned to take you with him." "You're lying!" Brent shouted from the crowd. "Am I?" I pulled out my phone and connected it to the sound system. "Let's listen to the voicemail you left for your travel agent yesterday." Brent's voice filled the square. "Yeah, it's Brent Calloway. I need to change my flight to Los Angeles tomorrow. Make it 1 ticket, not 2. The situation here has gotten too complicated. I need to disappear for a while." The crowd erupted. People were shouting, pointing at Lena and Brent, expressing their outrage at the betrayal and deception. Lena broke free from the crowd and ran toward the stage. "Simon, stop this, please." "Stop what? Telling the truth? Isn't that what you wanted when you destroyed our marriage? The truth?" She reached the base of the stage, tears streaming down her face. "I made a mistake. I'm sorry." "You made dozens of mistakes. You chose to have an affair. You chose to steal from me. You chose to break into our neighbors' homes. You chose to try to frame me for harassment. Those weren't mistakes, Lena. Those were choices." Brent finally broke through the crowd, his face red with anger. "You son of a bitch! You planned this." "Of course I planned this. Just like you planned to destroy my life. The difference is, everything I'm saying is true. I'll sue you for defamation." "With what money? You're broke, remember? And defamation requires false statements. Everything I've said today is documented fact." The crowd was getting uglier now. Someone threw a drink at Brent, soaking his expensive shirt. Others were shouting insults at Lena. "This is your fault!" Lena screamed at Brent. "You said he was weak. You said he'd never fight back." "Shut up!" Brent grabbed her arm roughly. "Just shut up!" That's when I decided to end this. I jumped down from the stage and walked directly to Brent. The crowd parted to let me through. "Take your hands off her," I said quietly. "Or what?" Brent sneered. "You'll call the police? You'll take more pictures?" "No," I said. "I'll do this." I shoved him hard in the chest, sending him stumbling backward into the crowd. He tried to regain his balance but tripped over someone's foot and fell face first into the decorative fountain in the center of the square. The crowd cheered as Brent came up sputtering, his phone ruined, his suit soaked, his dignity destroyed. "Try making a call now, hotshot," I said. Brent struggled to his feet, water dripping from his hair. "You're going to pay for this." "Am I? Because from where I'm standing, it looks like you're the one who's paid for everything. Your job, your reputation, your marriage, your girlfriend. What exactly do I have to worry about?" Lena was sobbing now, abandoned by her lover and rejected by the crowd. Even Monica had turned away from her. I climbed back onto the stage and took the microphone one last time. "Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you for listening today. Sometimes the truth is ugly, but it needs to be heard. My wife thought I was weak. She thought I'd never fight back. She thought she could destroy my life without consequences." I looked directly at Lena, who was standing alone in the middle of the hostile crowd. She was wrong about that. The crowd erupted in applause as Brent fled the square, still dripping wet and humiliated. Lena tried to follow him, but he pushed her away and kept running. I stood on the courthouse steps, watching my wife realize that she had lost everything: her job, her lover, her friends, her reputation, her future. She looked up at me with pure hatred in her eyes, but also something else: fear. She finally understood who she'd been married to for 20 years. Not the quiet, overlooked man she'd taken for granted, but someone far more dangerous. Someone who planned 10 moves ahead. Someone who never forgot a slight and never forgave a betrayal. As the crowd began to disperse, still buzzing with excitement over the day's drama, I felt a deep sense of satisfaction wash over me. Lena had drained our bank account, but I'd drained her entire life. She'd bet everything on Brent Calloway, and she'd lost it all. Welcome to Checkmate, darling.